Hello, all my dear friends. This is Maxine Taylor, and I have the forecast for the July forecast for the United States of America. And I know some of you are kind of listening and maybe cringing, getting ready to cringe, because, oh dear, sometimes it does appear to be a hopeless situation. However, down the road, there is definite hope, definite potential to recapture what we have lost. That will not be happening tomorrow, but it will be happening. So, those of you who are real young will be here, and many of us who are just not going to leave till we see what's going on will also be here. So when I look at the United States chart, some of you know you interpret it just a little bit differently than a person's birth chart, because it affects millions of people. So I'm going to give you the interpretation of the house based on the fact that we're looking at a country. And hopefully I will be so clear you'll understand every word I'm saying. And you do not have to be an astrologer or an astrology student to get what I'm saying. So hang in there. I'm just making sure I've got everything lined up. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Well, first of all, the sun, which is the center of our world, the center of our solar system, the center of our life, is in yellow. And it's in the second house. Now, the second house in our chart, in a person's chart, is money and things that money can buy, hanging on to possessions. In a country's chart, it is still money. It's our earnings, our savings, our finances. It's the stock exchange. It's banks. It's debts. It's, I can't read my own handwriting here. It's commerce and trade, okay? So here we have the natal part of the reading, and here we have what's going on now. The planets that are circling, transiting, kick off the planets in our birth chart, whether it's our own personal birth chart or the country's. So here is the sun, and on July 4th, it returns to its birthplace in the United States chart, which is in the second house. And when we have what we call a solar return, it's a very powerful time. And it, what it's saying here is, yes, there's more money. Now, you might say, well, what does that mean? How is it going to manifest? The manifestation is up to the people involved. And when it says there's more money for the people, there will be more money. How much? Hard to say. When? Pretty much now. In other words, and the amount doesn't show up, but the fact it shows that there is a whole new rebirth relating to our money situation and our financial situation in this country, which is great. On the 14th of the month, the sun enters the third house of the United States chart. Now, traditionally, in your chart and my chart, this deals with communication, correspondence, and transportation. In a mundane chart, It's communication, news reporters, the mail, public opinion, traffic, travel of a short distance nature, like the subway, buses, that type of thing. Books, newspapers, neighborhoods, schools, teachers, and of course, it's all rolled up in public transportation. On the 14th, the sun sits on Mercury, the blue planet, which is communication, correspondence, and transportation. This is terrific. What this says is that things are going to be moving forward in a positive way in the area of communication, correspondence, and transportation. And this is why I read it to you, because it deals with neighborhoods, traffic, whether it's air traffic or bus traffic, and God only knows, train traffic. We've had more trains be derailed in transit than I can remember. It seems like bridges are falling down, people are falling into bridges. It's gone a little while. Okay. On the 30th of the month, the sun sits on the north node, and the north node is that place in your chart or in a country's chart of success. And so there can be, I'll tell you what just came to my mind, the writers' strike. There can be a change made in the writers' strike when the sun goes into the third house, which it will on the 14th of the month. This could be really super terrific. So you want to keep that in mind. Okay. So that's the sun. Now, I covered everything. I want to talk about the new moon and the full moon, because as important as they are in our own personal charts, that's how important they are times how many millions of people in our United States chart. Okay. We have a full moon on July 3rd. Let's see. Today is the 2nd. I had hoped to get this out sooner, and I have been working feverishly on my next book, which should be out very soon. I'll keep you informed. So I've been focusing on that. This is not an excuse. It's just what is, So the full moon on July 3rd, on the full moon, that things come to a head. Now, the full moon is in our 8th house. 8th house is, I think, the powerhouse of the zodiac. It deals with transformation, transmutation. It deals with secrets. It deals with death and rebirth. In a mundane chart, what this does, and I'm just double checking here to make sure I got the degrees right. I did. Yay. In the United States chart, the 8th house deals with a treasurer, escrow, debts, taxes, losses, death, and secrets. Okay. Here's the full moon. We know that Trump has been indicted, and I feel that there are a great many secrets that we have not yet heard that will surface on this as a result of this full moon. When we're dealing with taxes and debts, there can be some change in the tax laws, which is really cool considering, people have been in really desperate shape, some people financially. And so this can bring the financial secrets to a head to be dealt with. And that's the beauty of the eighth house. The whatever goes on in the eighth house unearths the secrets that we want to know. It's really great. This particular full moon forms a T cross, and I didn't put all the planets in it. But what I want to share with you is a T cross is like a table with 3 legs. The missing leg is where the energy from the table leans, because there's nothing bracing it. The T cross of the full moon, any lunation, is in the 11th house. Let me read you what the 11th house is in a mundane chart. Congress, congressmen and women, legislation, the treasury. So we've got the 8th house of money and the treasury, city and county councils, and friends, United States friends. That is what is emphasized with this full moon. Okay. 2 weeks later, we have a new moon. And just prior to the new moon, we are in what is called the dark of the moon. Nothing's going on then. The energy is low. On the new moon, energy starts moving forward. And look at this. It's in 25 Cancer. It's on the 17th. And Mercury is triggered. Again, this Mercury is powerful because it's in its own house, meaning the house it normally rules. And we're dealing with communication and news. I really want that writer's strike to be over. Public opinion, travel and transportation, public transportation. They're all under scrutiny now. Good, because we want to get to the heart of the issues of why the trains are becoming derailed, why planes are crashing into each other. You know what I'm saying. Everything that we've heard about. Okay. This new moon is a new start, and it really can help everything about the 3rd house. Now, this new moon is also in opposition to Pluto. Pluto, as you know, is, many of you study astrology, is death and rebirth. It's total control. It's in our 9th house of our belief systems, and it's been sitting there. We have been experiencing a Pluto return, and this is why things are coming to a head. Crazy stuff. It's out with the old, in with the new. And that is what has been the theme, I want to say, for the past 8 years. So, because Pluto is in the 9th house, I'm going to tell you what the 9th house means. The upper courts, okay? Foreign travel, higher education, religion, the clergy, advertising, of course, the Supreme Court, meaning higher courts, our philosophy, world trade, and yes, universities. When we have an opposition, which we do here, there is a pulling away from a person, a place, or a concept that we have adhered to. This can mean a breaking away from a relationship with a foreign country. It can mean rephrasing and rewriting the laws. It can be a total out with the old, in with the new of our belief systems. And again, this can be our foreign communications. It can even be our foreign purchases. I don't mean the purchase itself is indicated here, but if we pull back from someone, a country that we need for their produce, for their products, it's going to affect us. So be aware that that's what's going on with this particular new moon. Okay, gonna keep on going here. Now, okay, Mercury. Mercury is what we think about and talk about. It's not action, it's talk. Here it is right here. It is sitting on this, it has been on the sun for the last day or so. And it's sitting today is the 2nd of July. It's there right now. And there's a lot of talk about increasing our income and all this good stuff, but it's talk. Fortunately, as if you will recall, the sun returns and sits on our natal sun. So I feel good about whatever changes are going to be coming about. Yay. All right. On the 6th, Mercury sits on crosses into the 3rd house. And we've just been talking about the 3rd house. On the 8th, we have a Mercury return. And so this is lots of talk, lots of communication, and this can, it doesn't mean it's going to, because we're dealing with millions of people. This can mean the ending of the writer's strike, that type of thing. But there's definitely more talk about news reporters, the mail, public opinion, traffic, books. Any more banned books? Good grief. Neighborhoods, schools, teachers, public transportation. This is when there's going to be lots of talk, followed hopefully by lots of action. And since the sun sits on Mercury on the 17th, the talk from Mercury on the 8th precedes that. This can be really good. Also, on the 14th, Mercury sits on our north node. This is the area of success, whether in your chart or a country's chart. So I love the way this looks. Excuse me. It's the I can't read my own handwriting. It's the 14th. So yay. Now let's talk about Venus. Venus is going to go retrograde on the 22nd. When Venus, which is the lesser benefic, it's one of the good guys of the zodiac. When it goes retrograde, it feels just like a Mercury retrograde. For those of you who study astrology, you know when Mercury goes retrograde, everything is confused. You do not start new projects because they either fizzle out totally or they have to be redone. So what you do under a retrograde Mercury, and in this case, a Venus retrograde, a retrograde Venus, either way, is you, and Venus rules love and money and all the beautiful things. You're going to tie up the loose ends of unfinished projects. And Venus is sitting in our fourth house, the United States fourth house. Let me read you what the fourth house is. Real estate. Oh my word. Every time I would report to you guys and talk about real estate, before all of the prices going up, going down, the real estate market going wild, I wondered what it was. And once all that stuff started happening, I knew, we all knew. Okay, it's the party out of power, domestic affairs, weather, land, farmers, builders, crops, mines, and seniors. IR1. Okay, so Venus normally blesses where the house and the planets that it touches in that house, because it is the lesser benefic. Jupiter is the greater benefic. So Venus is in the fourth house, blessing real estate. It's not going to go direct until next month. So, you're going to have to be a little bit patient. Now, I talked about Jupiter because they're both benefics. Let me go back to Jupiter. Jupiter is sitting in our 12th house. Very interesting. Jupiter is the greater benefic. It is God's law. It deals with, and I will read this to you, bribery, spies, hidden enemies, prisons, jails, hospitals, criminals, charitable institutions, seclusion, the past, secret societies, and welfare. And so this is Jupiter. There's a lot with Jupiter. I always say there's a lot of everything I just described to you. And I do think that for our country's safety, there are some things that need to be held secret, which is why the classified papers, classified reports in Trump's possession now pose such a problem. So there's a lot of behind the scenes preparation going on. Now, back to this chart, the red planet is Mars, and Mars is what comes first to us. Mars is what we'll fight with and fight for. It starts off in the third house, sitting on the north node. So see, the north node is the good guy. It represents our success in communication. Fabulous. And so if Mars were a person, Mars would be kicking the north node. Come on, tell us what you know. Tell us what you know. It will. It will. On the 13th, Mars moves into the fourth house and joins Venus. Now, remember, Mars is impatient. It will fight for what it wants, okay? Which means there can be fighting over third house issues, traffic, news, newspapers, schools, teachers, public transportation, all that stuff. When it goes into the fourth house, if this were a human being, that there could be arguing among family members. But again, that fourth house is real estate, the party out of power, domestic affairs, weather, land, farmers, builders, crops, mines, and seniors. And so all those come up for grabs. because Mars does not have to be gunfire. It can be angry picketing in the third house and then in the fourth. Venus will go direct next month. So we'll talk about that. Until then, on the 22nd, it goes retrograde. And the day that it goes retrograde, as well as the day before, avoid arguments. It may be hard for some of you to do that. You will not win if you start an argument during either a Mercury retrograde or a Venus retrograde, or at some point in the future when Mars goes retrograde. And yet this is the time that you're just ready to explode. And this is why I say, get away by yourself if you possibly can, because the issue that is unsettling you and upsetting you and causing you to really want to shoot from the hip will resolve itself a few days from now. In other words, anytime any of those three go retrograde, Venus, Mercury, or Mars, there is a tendency to want to argue and go toe to toe, not in a good way. Don't do it. It won't pay. You'll get it off your chest, but so what? It's not going to do any good. Tie up your loose ends while Venus is retrograde. So that's my report. Sometimes it's just life is a movie and the same thing replays. We've already seen our senators and our representatives. We know what they're going to say. They don't surprise us anymore because we understand. We know where they're coming from. It is kind of a three-ring circus. I know. And with Venus going retrograde and staying retrograde in August, and Mercury will be going retrograde in August. So we've got the tag team. And we've had that double retro with Venus and Mercury before. So it's nothing new, but it sure is, a mess. It just is. Hurry up and wait. Hurry up and wait. So come back next month. I'll talk about what I see again. And until then, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours. Bye for now, my dear friends. Oh, and if you would like your own personal reading, just go to my website, MaxineTaylor.com. Bye, everybody.